Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something pretty fundamental, something that gets talked about, argued about, even dismissed a lot these days, marriage.
Right.
But our source for this deep dive, it's called Excerpts from Marriage, a Sacred Covenant Before God, and it points us back to a much older idea, a really profound one. Marriage as a covenant.
Very different framing.
Exactly. So our mission today is to unpack that, why this view is so different and how it, challenges the way we often think about marriage now. Okay, let's unpack this. You look around and it really feels like the world often treats marriage almost like a business deal, a contract.
Like a contract.
Yeah, something you get into because it's convenient, maybe, and then if it gets tough, well, you break it. Or maybe culture just decides to redefine it. But this source, it just doesn't see it that way at all.
No, not at all. What's fascinating here is one of the starkest points the source makes is this. God never called it a contract. He called it a covenant.
Never a contract, always a covenant.
That's the assertion. And it argues this whole thing, this covenant, was set up by God way back. We're talking Eden, just one man, one woman. This was long before governments, laws, any of that human structure existed.
Wow. Okay. Before any human laws.
Yeah, that's the core idea for understanding why it's seen as unique.
So you just said the source insists it's a covenant, not a contract. That's a pretty major difference. So if we lean into that, what is the actual nature of this covenant according to the source? What makes it different?
Well, the source paints it as sacred. Truly sacred. It's not just a promise between two people. It's an oath made directly in the sight of God. God is positioned as the witness.
The ultimate witness.
Exactly. It's not just friends and family watching. It even cites scripture like Malachi 2.14, where God explicitly calls the wife thy companion and the wife of thy covenant.
Highlighting that bond.
Right. It underlines this deep, divinely recognized connection. And then you have Matthew 19.6 stating very clearly, it is God who joins them together.
Yeah.
So the idea is this makes it binding in a way that, well, no piece of paper, no civil law can truly replicate or dissolve. It's on a different level.
Okay, that's a powerful concept. The source also talks a lot about becoming one flesh. Here's where it gets really interesting. That term is familiar, but how does this source unpack it? Is there a deeper layer?
Oh, definitely. The one flesh idea, which comes from Genesis 2.24, the source clarifies it's not just about the physical union. That's part of it, sure, but it's fundamentally spiritual.
Spiritual, okay.
How so?
The insight is that this union forges a spiritual bond. It's so deep it actually changes who the individuals are within that marriage. Your futures, your destinies are woven together, and that specific bond, the source insists, is something only God can actually seal.
So not something created just by saying vows or signing a certificate. Exactly. It's beyond human making is the point. It's not just two people deciding to be together. It's them becoming this single new entity that God recognizes.
A single, divinely recognized entity. Wow. Okay, so given that kind of profound spiritual connection, does the source offer like a model for what this covenant looks like in practice?
It does. It points to a very specific, and I'd say very high standard. It argues marriage is designed to mirror the covenant between Christ and the church.
Christ and the church. Okay, what does that parallel mean for marriage itself, especially when things get hard?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
it's presented as more than just a nice comparison. It's like a blueprint.
Yeah.
Think about it. Christ's faithfulness to the church, his sacrifice, it's unwavering.
Yeah.
He never leaves, never gives up on his bride. So the source argues our human marriages are called to that exact same level of commitment. That same kind of sacrificial love and faithfulness, even when it's incredibly difficult, maybe especially when it's difficult. It really makes you ask, how would looking at marriage through that specific lens change how we act day to day, how resilient we are?
So what does this all mean? It really sounds like this perspective strips away a lot of the modern reasons people give for getting married, convenience, looking good, taxes, benefits. And it says the real purpose, the only true purpose maybe, is loyalty, sacrifice, and love rooted in truth. That feels like a radically different goal. But thinking practically, if someone's really struggling in their marriage, what does this covenant idea offer them? Is it just a higher bar, or is there hope in it?
That's a really important question, and the source does address it. It basically says, look, the world might laugh at this, courts might try to redefine it, society might move on, but God still honors it. The source is quite direct, saying God never asked for their permission about what marriage truly is.
Strong words.
They are. The implication seems to be that finding strength, finding resilience, comes from trying to live up to that divine design, not the shifting cultural one. Even if it feels completely countercultural, it's about finding purpose in that unchanging standard. This raises an important question about where we ultimately look for the definition and strength of marriage.
And that really brings it back to you, listening. This way of thinking about marriage as a covenant, it offers a fundamentally different perspective, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
It suggests marriage isn't just a social contract, not just a personal agreement, but from this viewpoint, it is and always has been a covenant before God. Just sit with the weight of that for a moment. And maybe this is the final thought to explore. What does it truly mean for something so central to human life to be understood as inherently binding beyond any civil law? A definition that, according to this source, doesn't change with the times or depend on whether we still feel like sticking to the terms. That's definitely something to reflect on.